Hello, everybody. Welcome to the X Factor with the Crypto Hipster. This is the Crypto Hipster, Jamil Hassan, and I invite you to today's episode. It is September 1st, the first day of September 2023. This is episode 55, season 3, episode 15, overall episode 55. And welcome. This was a rather uneventful week in crypto and blockchain around the world, but we're going to get into some of the news, insights, analysis, and commentary, my infamous and famous commentary about what's going on in the market. And the first piece of news is, let's start off with our beloved, our awesome, right? They're not awesome in any possible way you could think of, but let's start in the U.S. and talk about the SEC. The SEC. It used to be a great organization, and then somebody showed up being appointed as a chief who didn't belong there. But we're not going to get into that right at this moment. We're going to talk about the SEC has decided to delay a decision on 6 spot Bitcoin ETF applications. Actually, it's 7. It's 7. And the 7th one surprised me. The SEC has delayed its decision on Bitcoin exchange-traded ETF fund applications, spot applications, from Wisdom Tree, Invesco Galaxy, Valkyrie, VanEck, Bitwise Asset Management, and Fidelity. And the 7th is BlackRock. And anybody who's been following my show for this season knows that I predicted that BlackRock would be approved, and it wasn't. They delayed BlackRock too. So the U.S. SEC has postponed decisions for those applications. According to SEC filings yesterday, the commission has designated a longer period in which it may review spot Bitcoin ETF applications. Not like they've had years already, but they say they will have another 45 days upon publication in the Federal Register to consider the proposed rule changes, allowing listing of the investment vehicles, giving the regulator until October to approve, deny, or delay a decision. I expect them to delay it further. This is not investment advice. Do your own research. I expect delay after delay after delay after delay after delay after delay. Not because they don't know what they're doing, but because making decisions is tough nowadays. Now, actually, there's other reasons of that, but the delays followed speculation the SEC could approve a spot Bitcoin ETF in the U.S. for the first time ever after the commission lost a crucial court case. They lost quite a few court cases. They're losing. Well, Gary, you're losing a lot, man. I don't know. It's brought by asset manager Grayscale. They lost that one. We're talking about that too. An appellate court ruled on August 29, which is Tuesday, the SEC will need to review Grayscale's petition to convert its Bitcoin trust into an ETF, leading many experts to suggest the odds for approval of at least one spot crypto ETF had significantly increased. Well, it didn't really increase. Wisdom Tree's Bitcoin ETF proposal didn't get the approval in 2021. From 2021 filing. However, after BlackRock joined the spot Bitcoin ETF race, Wisdom Tree refiled, and some others refiled. And hey, I expected BlackRock to be approved because, I don't know, it's the 1% club, maybe, but, looks like the club has some problems within the club, maybe. How's this going to go down? Let me know your thoughts. Is it going to, and when we get to October 17 is the 45-day point. Is there going to be a further delay? Is there going to be acceptance or denial? Let me know your thoughts. Okay. We're going to take a little break. We'll go right now. We'll talk about not the SEC. A little break because we're gonna go back to the SEC in a moment. But we're going to talk about this because NVIDIA stock has really gone up, and this is not a stock show. I don't let boomers come on here and shill their book. It's not what this is. but U.S. officials extend export curbs on NVIDIA AI chip to some Middle Eastern countries. Well, why Crypto Hipster is just not in the Middle East? Well, we're going to find out right now. Regulators in the U.S. have asked NVIDIA to curb exports of artificial intelligence AI chips to some Middle Eastern countries, according to its latest quarterly report. In the report released August 28, NVIDIA said the new regulations affect its A100 and H100 chips, which help enhance the speed of machine learning tasks. NVIDIA did not specify what countries in the Middle East are impacted. That's why I don't have it in the Middle East section of my news report to you today, because nobody knows where this is. Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, a direct competitor to NVIDIA, was also given a letter by the U.S. regulators requesting the same ban on high-level AI chip exports to some Middle Eastern countries, according to a Reuters report. Reuters covers the stock market, so I have to defer to them. The quarterly report from NVIDIA states that the new regulatory filing will not have an immediate material impact on its business, or doesn't make up a meaningful portion of its revenue. However, it said it's working with the U.S. government to address the matter. Let me know how it's going to go. Why is NVIDIA stock up so much? What are they doing right? And what are they doing wrong? Okay. Now, I said we're going to go back to the SEC. Let's delve into that. Bitcoin ETFs have a 75% chance of approval this year, according to Bloomberg. Write it down. Bloomberg says there's a 75% chance of approval this year. Crypto Hipster says there's a 75% chance of another SEC delay. Who's right? Bloomberg or the Crypto Hipster? This is September 1st. Crypto Hipster is telling you 75% chance they delay it. And I'm happy to be proven wrong. I hope I am. I don't know. Bloomberg analysts have raised the probability for an approved spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund by the end of 2023, following a recent grayscale victory against the federal securities regulator. On August 31st, a post on Twitter, X, Bloomberg senior analyst Eric Balchunas said they have raised the chances to 75% from an earlier 65% chance due to the unanimity, whatever that word is in the world, and decisiveness at which the U.S. Court of Appeals Circuit reached its decision in the recent case. The judges unanimously repudiated the SEC's arguments, and the agency will struggle to justify further denials as it faces deadlines. That's what Bloomberg analysts James Seyffart and Elliot Stein said in an August 30 note. Let's delve into that. I'm talking to Gary, Mr. Gensler, the Honorable. I use that word loosely, Honorable. Sir, are you tired of losing yet? It must be incredibly exhausting to keep losing. Lost to the XRP, you lose to Grayscale, you deny, the Bitcoin ETF like a little crybaby in the woods. Look, I'm telling you, it'll be okay. The truth will set you free. Just admit you don't know what you're doing. You bought your position because of campaign donations. You weren't actually qualified to be there. It's okay. I won't think any less of you if you come out and say, hey, I taught a course using IP that wasn't my IP. We claimed to be the first in, blockchain ethics in New York. I got my way there because of, lie, cheat, and steal, whatever the words we're going to use. It's okay. Come to my couch. Talk to daddy. It's fine. If there's ever an adult who needs a Santa Claus, come sit on my lap, tell Santa what you want, and that truth will help you in the future cases. With all due respect, Honorable Mr. Gensler, if anybody, any adult ever needed to believe in a Santa Claus right now, it's you. Case closed. Moving on. Judge dismisses class action. Okay, this is another loss. Wow. Okay, 3 losses. 3 strikes are out. I mean, hey, if they want to give you another strike, fine. A judge dismisses class action suit against Uniswap over token scam losses. The U.S. District Court for Southern District of New York has dismissed a class action suit against Uniswap Labs and its CEO, Foundation and Venture Capital backers, brought by plaintiffs who claim they lost money due to scam tokens on the decentralized cryptocurrency exchange. Judge Catherine Polk-Fiala, who handed down the dismissal, is also hearing the SEC Commission case against Coinbase. The suit was brought by 6 individuals who brought tokens on Uniswap between December 2020 and March 2022. They argued on behalf of a nationwide class of users that Uniswap Labs controlled liquidity pools on the protocol, including those created by the scammers they lost money to. The suit was filed in April 2022. The defendants were demanding the recession of the smart contracts they entered into to buy the scam tokens, with compensation under the Securities Act of 1933 and the Securities Exchange Act of 1934, which makes no sense. And this is what Catherine Polk says. Okay. The order dismissing the suit against Uniswap. Plaintiffs argued their claim was backed up by the fact that Uniswap held liquidity provider funds and newly created tokens in Uniswap's proprietary core contracts, used its routers it controlled to process transactions on the protocol, and issue liquidity tokens when pools were created. In addition, the plaintiffs held that the defendants likely were held at least 88% of the Uniswap governance tokens, although they had no actual knowledge of token ownership. Tokens have never fallen under the 33 and 34 Act. Is that a revelation? No, they haven't. Because it's in its time as technology and finance has been innovated, that the regulations need to also be innovated in line with the technology and finance. That is a no-brainer, and hopefully that can happen. But let's get out of North America. Let's get out of the U.S. and go somewhere else in North America, because it just happens to be more fun there. And I'm talking about the Bahamas. Yeah, the Bahamas are mega fun. They have like beaches and fun, sand, virgin pina coladas or Mai Tais or whatever you have on the beach. And, some of these places have casinos. It's really cool to be in the Bahamas. Tether has added Bahamas-based private bank Britannia as a partner. Okay, Tether, the stablecoin issuer behind USDT, has reportedly added Britannia Bank and Trust, a private bank based in the Bahamas, to process dollar transfers on its platform. It is understood Tether has instructed clients to send money to Britannia's bank account over the last few months, according to an August 29 report by Bloomberg. You notice Bloomberg has a lot of reports on crypto now. This is an entity of years ago that laughed and scoffed at crypto, but now they're covering it. Does that tell you something? It tells me a lot. However, it isn't clear when Tether's banking relationship with Britannia Bank started, but its other reported banking partner included Deltec Bank and Capital Union Bank. In recent months, the Tether for U.S.-based cryptocurrency firms, including Tether, have had to increasingly look offshore for banking partners amid increased scrutiny by U.S. regulators, who keep losing, by the way, following the shock collapse of FTX in November. Okay, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on everything happening in North America. And then we'll go to South America, okay? And we'll talk about something over there. Binance excludes Banco de Venezuela from P2P payments. Interesting. The world's largest crypto exchange, Binance, has removed Banco de Venezuela as a payment method on its peer-to-peer trading service. This follows similar moves with sanctioned Russian banks last week and is likely part of efforts to fall in line with international financial sanctions. According to Venezuelan users, Banco de Venezuela has vanished from P2P payments options this week, following a series of such removals of Russian banks by Binance. The obvious reason behind this step is the August 24 Wall Street Journal. No, it's not. Or about the exchange's participation in circumventing international financial sanctions. They're giving all the credit to the Wall Street Journal report. I don't know. But Banco de Venezuela is one of the largest financial institutions in the country. And it's held the third spot there, back of Grupo Santander and someone else. But, they removed them. So let me know your thoughts. Was that a wise decision? Why is Binance, under fire, under siege, all this stuff, right? Let's go to Europe. Okay. Google updates service policies to comply with the EU regulations. Google plans to update some of its service policies to comply with the EU's Digital Service Act. The big tech giant Google said it had made significant investments in various areas to comply with the DSA's specific requirements. It plans to expand its Ads Transparency Center. Researchers access the data and its transparency research, add more visibility for content moderation, create a new transparency center for its policies, and conduct more in-depth risk analysis. Google has also voiced concerns about potential unintended consequences of some of these measures. They say, such as the risk of making it easier for bad actors to abuse our services and spread harmful misinformation by providing too much information about our enforcement approach. The DSA intends to consolidate content regulations across the region and form more specific processes for content moderation online. It also categorized 17 online platforms as very large online platforms, VLOPs, and 2 as very large online search engines, VLOCs. Interesting regulations. Google's going to update their stuff. Let me know what you think of that. And then UK's travel rule. We're going to talk about UK's travel rule. It has come into effect and could possibly halt certain crypto transfers. Crypto asset businesses in the UK are now beginning to withhold certain crypto transfers to comply with a new travel rule for crypto that came into effect on September 1st, which is this morning. The rules targeting virtual asset service providers were first introduced by the Financial Conduct Authority a couple of weeks ago, based in the UK, to collect, verify, and share information related to crypto asset transfers. If an inbound payment is received by a person or an entity from an overseas jurisdiction that hasn't implemented the travel rule, the VASP must make a risk-based assessment to whether to make the crypto assets available to the beneficiary. What does that mean? The travel rule was created by the Financial Action Task Force and enforced in July this last year. It attempts to enforce anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing rules on activities carried out on-chain. Other countries that have adopted a rule include the US, Germany, Japan, Singapore, Switzerland, Canada, South Africa, Netherlands, and Estonia. The FATF, Financial Action Task Force, called out member states for failing to sufficiently implement the rule after a survey revealed more than half of them have failed to take any action towards implementing the rule. 29 of 98 jurisdictions at the time passed the requirements. But still, who am I going to send my crypto to? I don't know anybody in UK who I want to send my crypto to. I do know people who I want to receive crypto from. But since everybody's already complying with the travel rule, I guess I can receive it if I want to. But how's that rule going to go? Are you going to be impacted? If you're going to be impacted, let me know. Okay? Or let China know. We're going to Asia. Okay? China court declares virtual assets Legal property is protected by the law. So we're out of Europe. We're in Asia. We're in China. A people's court in China, not Judge Wapner's people court, but a people's court in China. She's not on anymore. So it's Judge Judy's court. But no, it's the people's court in China. Published a report on the legality of virtual assets, analyzing the criminal law attributes of these digital assets. The court noted in the report that virtual assets under the current legal policy framework are still legal property and protected by law. The People's Court of the People's Republic of China exercise judicial power independently and are not subject to interference by an administrative or public organization. These courts try criminal, civil, and administrative cases, as well as economic disputes. The report, titled Identification of the Property Attributes of the Virtual Currency and Disposal of Property Involved in the Case, that's pretty wordy, acknowledged that virtual assets have economic attributes and thus can be classified as property. Although China has deemed all foreign digital assets illegal by imposing a blanket ban, the report argues that virtual assets held by individuals should be considered legal and protected by law under the current policy framework. How's that going to fly? Why, oh, why, say I. Let me know your thoughts. China's Baidu and other tech companies release ChatGPT-like AI chatbots. How did this get here? China, chatbots. 4 Chinese-based tech companies launched their own AI chatbots a couple of days ago for public use after receiving approval from the Chinese government. Baidu, Bechuan Intelligence Technology, SenseTime, and Zippu AI have launched their chatbots less than 2 weeks after the government's official AI legislation was enacted, which requires government approval prior to launching AI-based products available in the mass market. In order to receive approval, companies must submit security assessments and other proof of meetings set standards. There are 24 guidelines, which include mandatory labels for artificially created content and holding service providers accountable for anything created through the platforms. According to local Chinese media, 11 additional firms have received government approval for AI products, including the owners of TikTok, ByteDance, and Tencent Holdings. Yes, TikTok is a Chinese company. Yes, all your teenagers are putting content out there for a Chinese company. Yes, that's what's happening. And whether you know it or not. So, Baidu likened the new chatbot called ErnieBot to the popular chatbot GPT application created by Microsoft-backed OpenAI. So, I'm interested to see how ErnieBot works. I really want to know how BertBot works too. But we got to ask the Sesame Street folks. Let's move on. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about ErnieBot. Let me know what you think about possibly a BertBot, maybe a Big Bird bot, or a Snuffleupagus bot. That'd be pretty cool. So let's go to South Korea. South Korea Parliament rejects motion to expel lawmaker over crypto scandal. South Korea's Parliamentary Ethics Subcommittee has voted down a motion to expel Kim Nam-Kuk, a former member of the main opposition Democratic Party. A Parliamentary Ethics Committee of South Korea has voted down the motion to expel Nam-Kuk, a former member of the main opposition Democratic Party. The subcommittee rejected the proposal this week after the ruling People Power Party and the DP divided evenly over the motion in a 3-3 vote. Majority of votes was needed. As previously reported, well, not to me, Kim came under fire earlier this year when he was found to have once held at least $4.5 million in WeMix tokens developed by the South Korean blockchain game developer WeMade. WeMix tokens had been allowed for trading on major exchanges in South Korea before a local court ordered to delist those tokens in late 2022. Let me know your thoughts. What's the future of gaming in South Korea? EOS. I haven't heard this name in quite some time. EOS. EOS secures regulatory approval in Japan and will trade against the yen. The EOS Network Foundation announced that the EOS token, back from the dead, apparently, will start trading in Japan. The token has been granted whitelist approval by Japan's crypto regulator, paving the way for the token to be traded on against the Japanese yen on regulated exchanges in the country. The EOS Network Foundation, which currently supports the development of EOS, announced the token has received whitelist approval from the Japanese Virtual and Crypto Asset Exchange Association. This means the token can trade against the yen on regulated exchanges. The ENF also highlighted the trading for the token will be enabled in September at an exchange called BitTrade. ENF CEO Yves LaRose said the Asian market is very important to EOS. It's always been an important pillar to EOS, as it has a vast amount of token holders there. He said, we strongly believe the next wave of Web3 innovation will come in the form of blockchain-based gaming and GameFi. Asia is clearly a leader in GameFi. That is true. Let me know. I'm shocked that EOS is still around. You know, I thought it was a dead coin. I thought wrong. Learn something new every day. India. We're going to go to India now because, yeah, Indian crypto exchanges, CoinSwitch, CoinDCX cut staff amid market slump. The CoinSwitch crypto exchange is the latest crypto trading platform in India that cut its workforce amid the prolonged cryptocurrency winter. The crypto exchange reported laid off 44 employees from its customer support division in August, citing redundancies in roles amid the bear market triggered lack of customer queries. They say, we continuously evaluate our business to stay competitive, prioritizing innovation, value, and service for our customers. To that end, we right-sized our customer support team to align with the present volume of customer queries on our platform. CoinSwitch said the firm added this impacted the roles of 44 members of its support team who voluntarily resigned from their roles after a detailed discussion with their managers. Voluntarily. 44 people voluntarily left. And I have a bridge to sell you in the Gobi Desert. Okay. Indian PM Modi calls for global cryptocurrency framework at the G20 summit. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called for global collaboration on formulating crypto regulations during the annual Group of 20 summit. As president of the G20, India has taken up the task of advocating for a comprehensive global framework for regulating cryptocurrencies. The G20 comprises 19 countries, and the EU represented the world's major developed emerging economies. It leads international economic cooperation that plays a critical role in strengthening global architecture and governance on all major international economic issues. During Modi that week, talked about the role of emerging technologies such as blockchain and crypto. Modi noted that the nature of such emerging technologies will have a global impact. Thus, the rules, regulations, and framework around it should not belong to one country or group of countries. Modi cited the example of the aviation industry and said that common rules and regulations governing air traffic control or security, emerging technologies like crypto should be regulated globally. He further added that India is doing its part in the global regulatory conversation. And that is India. And then we have one more place to go before we call it a wraps for the day, and that is Australia. Binance Australia GM really confident regulators will side with crypto. That's cool. Binance Australia General Manager Ben Rose says he's really confident that Australian regulators will eventually make the right choices when it comes to laws that govern digital assets in the country. There are lots of very, very smart people in the government working really hard on crypto policy, he says. So I'm really confident that we will get there in the end. Okay, his comments stand against a backdrop of recent hostility toward crypto, some of which has impacted its exchange, Binance Australia, including a reported search by regulators in July and several banking blocks from traditional finance sector. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. As far as I'm concerned, they ignore you, then they ignore you, then they start to listen to you, then you kick their ass. Same thing. That's it. Hopefully, Binance Australia will succeed, and crypto in Australia will succeed. And I'm looking forward to it. And let me know your thoughts. This has been another wonderful episode of the X Factor with the Crypto Hipster. I do have a public service announcement. One, given some unfortunate events that happened this past week to an influencer who I will not talk about, who will remain nameless, who may have thrown his whole entire company away and was thrown out of his own company, there's a need to do more than just an X Factor on a Friday. Going forward, in September, I will bring you more than just an X Factor on a Friday. In the meantime, you can catch Crypto Hipster podcasts, and there are 4 new live podcasts this week. Check them out on the Crypto Hipster podcast, plus the X Factor, plus what's coming down the pike, which is a very positive thing. I look forward to bringing you many more shows. And if anybody sees Gary, let him know it's okay to talk to Daddy. Have a great week.